Christchurch with another PowerApps video. So in this session, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a little application that I built. It's a business card scanner, and I did that for a presentation for Christchurch Code Camp a few months ago. So a business card scanner may not be the most useful application in the world, but it was a useful device for demonstrating various techniques within PowerApps, which I'm going to go through with you now. So let's first of all show you what this application looks like. So here it is. What you're seeing there is the rear camera from my laptop. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop my business card. This is an old business card, so the details are out of date, so fine putting it on the internet. So I'm just going to hold this behind the camera here, click the button to take a shot. It's not really ideal, is it? Let's try that again. There we go. So try and hold it a bit steadier this time. So we're going to take the picture. Okay, that's probably clear enough, and we're going to hit the button to now go and start analysing that image of the business card, to start reading that business card. And in a few moments, boom, there we are. So what the application has done, it has read all of the text on the card. It's identified it with these little rectangular red boxes, and it has automatically filled in my contact details down the side. Now, being a carefully stage managed presentation, of course it's got everything in the right place, but business cards can be obviously quite varied in their design. So if it does manage to get something wrong, so let's say that it hadn't picked up the name properly, all the user would have to do is click on the little icon there, and then they can click on the red boxes which represent the correct information. There we go. So clicking the icon sets it to what it thinks it should be, and then you can overwrite that simply by clicking on whatever is the correct text. Fantastic. So how did we go about building this? Well, what I'll do in this session is I will build this whole thing from scratch, where I'm doing things like I'm repeating putting controls on, then maybe I'll skip the video. But some of the feedback has been that people like to see me do the whole thing, particularly as I usually make some kind of a mistake. And people either enjoy watching me make mistakes, or perhaps more charitably enjoy seeing that I do make mistakes, but how I get out of those mistakes again, how we can put things right when things go wrong. So I'm just going to set up a new app canvas, and then we will begin. Okay, so here we are again with our completely blank canvas. So the first thing, of course, we're going to want to do is we're going to want to pop some controls on. The first one being the camera control, so that we can take a picture of our business cards. So I'm just going to position that, make it nice and big, so it's going to be easy to see what comes back from the business card. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put an image control over the top. So the reason for that is, as you can see, when the camera is running, the picture is moving all the time. So when we actually take a picture, we want to display that image, and we're going to do that by having an image control over the top of the camera and then changing the visible property of that image control so we can flick between the image that we've taken and the live camera view. So let's pop an image control on the screen. So here we are, image control. And now what I could do is I could drag this to be over the top of my camera control, but instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a sort of relative referencing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say I want the X of this image control to be camera1.x. Let's just copy camera1. and I want the Y to be camera1.y, and I want the width to be camera1.width, and the height to be camera1.height. Okay, so now my image control is absolutely over the top of my camera. It's not even a single pixel different. And if I want to adjust the layout of my screen at all, I can just adjust my camera control, and my image control will automatically jump around so that it is completely over the top. Cool. Right. So on to the next thing. What we are going to want to do is make it so that when we tap the camera, then that is when the image control comes to the forefront and shows the image that we have just taken. So let's do that quickly now. I'm going to go back to my image control. I'm going to set the visible property of my image to a variable. So I'm going to do this with a context variables. Context variables are only relevant to the screen they're on. So I'm going to say con image viz. Okay, so I'm getting a error there at the moment because I haven't actually set any value for that yet. So let's make the onVisible event of the screen do our update context con image viz, and of course I've forgotten my curly braces. There we go. And we're going to set it initially to false. There we are. So my little red warning symbols have gone away because we're now actually doing something with that. So now what I want to do is select my camera and modify the onSelect for the camera. So tapping the camera, triggering the onSelect is going to take the image and also change the value of our context variable for con image viz is going to be true in that case. And the other thing that we want to do is to actually take this image. So let's put in a semicolon there. Right, and then we can, let's pull this down a little bit. Say update context again, and I'm going to store my photograph in a variable called conPhoto. So I'm going to set that one to camera1.photo. There we go. And if you prefer, you don't have to have these as separate lines. With the update context command, we can actually set several contexts. We just have to put a comma between them. So I'll change it to that. Oh, in this case, we only have the curly braces at the beginning and at the end. So this update context is doing two things. It's changing the variable con image viz to true, and it's changing, setting the conPhoto variable to whatever the image is in camera 1 at that moment. So we've done that. So now I've got somewhere where my image is stored. So we should just be able to go to our image control, and we can say that we want the image of that control to be our conPhoto variable. And then let's give that a little try. Let's hit the play button. So here's me waving, click, and there we go. The image is frozen. Or rather, the photo has been taken and it's being displayed in the image control. So we're going to want a way to get rid of photos again. So I am going to insert an icon in here. We'll use the trash icon. There we go. And the on select of this one, we are just going to do our update context. We're going to set the con image viz to false again, so that we are hiding that image control, so that we'll see the camera properly again. And just to keep things clean, we're going to set the con photo to blank. We're going to clear out whatever was in that variable by just using that blank command. So here we are, let's give that a try, and boom, so the picture's gone away. Now the other thing is that you're looking at me. We're going to want to change this slightly so that we're looking out of the rear camera. So let's give ourselves another little icon which is going to let us cycle through the different cameras on the device. So I'm going to use the settings cog for this. So this is going to be the thing that chooses the camera. So the camera, let's just show you quickly here in case you're not aware. So in the properties of the camera, yes, there we are. It's currently using camera 0. We could change that to camera 1. And now that's using the rear camera. If we want a bit of a fright, we can change it to camera 2, which on a Surface device is the Windows Hello camera and gives you a nice spooky image. There we go. So let's set that back to 0 again before we give people too many nightmares. So the camera property is a numeric value that just goes through the different cameras on the device starting from 0. So let's just put a command in here. So what we could do here is we could say update context, and I'm going to call this variable con cam. That's going to be which camera we're using, and I want this to cycle through the different the different values on the device. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a switch command, and I'm going to say check what the value of con cam is at the moment. If the value of con cam is 0, then make it 1. If the value of con cam is 1, then make it 2. And if it's anything else, then make it 0. Have I done that right? Doesn't like my con cam. Why is that? Okay, so I've got to complete the formula so that con cam exists. So there we are. So that should cycle me through my camera states, or my available cameras on the device. What I've got to do as well, though, of course, is in my camera change the camera property from 0 to con cam. There we are. So con cam isn't set at the moment, so we haven't got anything, but now when we click, we should start cycling through the cameras again. Cool. And of course we're going to want the onVisible property of our screen 1 to set a default camera, so we'll make that con cam 0. There we are. Great, so now we've got some camera controls going on there. So the next thing we're going to want to do is, once we've taken an image, we need to go and get it analysed. So the thing that does the analysis and that actually reads the text is Cognitive Services, OCR action. And we're going to do that by using Flow. So let's put a little icon on the screen. I'm going to make it the camera icon. So the user flow here is they take an image. If the image looks good and steady, then they can tap this little button to read the text in the image. You may want to set it up differently. I'm not worrying too much about the user experience here. This is a more technical session. Okay, so now I've got my little camera on there. So let's actually get to a stage where we've got an image. Pop that on there again. Freeze the image. There we go. Okay, so this is the stage where we would send this image off for analysis and to get the text back. So I am going to, in the onSelect, go to Action and go to Flows. So I'm going to generate my flow from here. So there we are, all the flows where I've been messing around with different things. So now I'm going to create a flow. There we are. So here's my new flow. It's been given the default name of PowerApps button, which isn't terribly descriptive. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change that. Now what I like to do is I like to start my flows off with an abbreviation for the trigger that calls it. So a flow might be called from an email coming in, or something being changed in a SharePoint list, something like that, or in this case it's a PowerApps button. So I'm going to start this with PA so that I know that this flow is one that comes from PowerApps. Just sometimes makes it easier to find things in lists. And then I'm going to give it an underscore, and I'll call this OCR biz card for business card. So that's going to be fine. So now I'm going to put in a step into my flow, and this is going to be to call the computer vision service. So let's go computer vision API here, and then down here the one that we want is the optical character recognition OCR to JSON. Okay, so there we go, that's that one selected. Now if you don't have computer vision set up, it would ask you to provide some credentials to your computer vision service. So how do you create a computer vision service? It's very easy and it's also free. So I'm going to very quickly run you through the idea. You can get more details from my other videos, but you'll need an Azure account. So this is a dashboard for Azure. You can get an Azure account. You do have to put in your credit card number, I believe, but you don't have to pay anything. So it's just sort of a means of identification. It's like when you sign up for things on the Google App Store or the Apple Play Store, you tend to have to put in a credit card number so that everyone is uniquely identified, and so that if you do decide to spend money, it's very easy to click. You don't have to start entering payment details again. So in Azure, so this is my messy Azure dashboard. Don't worry too much about that. If you've just signed up, your dashboard will be nice and clean. You can hit the plus button that says you want to create a new resource or service. In this case, the one we want is computer vision, so we're going to do a little search on that. Oopsie daisy, why has it done that for me? Let's try that again. Search for vision. Right, there we are, that worked better that time. Okay, so it was computer vision that we were after. So we want the computer vision service. We're going to create that. So I've already got one created, but I'll demonstrate the steps. So you'd need to give this some sort of a name. So my comp viz, whatever. Choose what subscription you're on, so you'll probably be on a pay-as-you-go subscription. Choose the location, so you want the location which is closest to where you are physically located, just to cut down on lag time, latency. And then you can choose your pricing tier. Money! But if we click to see the pricing details, you'll see that the pricing tiers, there's two of them. F0 is free, S1 is standard. So you can play around with this for free. It's not going to cost you anything. The limitation is that you can only make 20 calls per minute, and you've got a maximum of 5,000 calls per month. And then there's a list of the different services that you can use: analyze, tag, describe, OCR, which is the one that we want, get thumbnail. If you move up to S1 standard, it's all the same services. It's just that you can make up to 10 calls per second, and there's no limit on how many calls you make per month. And down the bottom here we can see that the price is $1 per 1,000 calls. So it's really not very expensive to use. Okay, so then we would put in our pricing tier. I'll tell you what, I'll go ahead and I'll actually create this one, and then we'll have a look inside what it's done. Resource group, you can have many different resources in your Azure service, and the resource group is simply a way of grouping these together for billing purposes, so you can see how much a particular app perhaps has cost you. So if an app uses 2 or 3 services, then you could create a resource group, put all those services in the same resource group, and then total up. If it has cost you anything at the end of the month, you know that those are the costs related to the given app. So I'll hit the create on there. I can always delete it later. Okay, so that's going to go away and create the computer vision service. Great. So here we are back at our dashboard again. So the service should have been created. So let me have a little look at all of my services. Hold on a moment, I've got to try and find my way around. I'll tell you what, we'll just go back to here. We'll go into the computer vision service. I'm not sure right now whether this is the one that I just created or one that I had before, but it really doesn't matter. I just wanted to show you the steps. And what we then need to do is we need to get our endpoint and our keys. So if we go to Overview, it's going to give us an endpoint, and we can also say show us our access keys. So in Flow, when you are initially saying that you want to use computer vision, it will say, oh, okay, what endpoint are you using, and what's your key for that endpoint? You have to have the key so it knows who to charge. So those are the steps for how to set it up in Azure. That's giving you your endpoint. I'm only on the free tier anyway, so it doesn't really matter if I show you my access key too much, but I can always regenerate them later. So I can see what my keys are called there. Okay, so let's jump back to here. So that was a quick diversion into Azure and how you can add the resource. So if you've got the resource all set up, the computer vision resource, you've put in your endpoint and your key, we can go ahead and start filling in the options here. So we're going to be sending an image off for OCR, and our first choice is to say, right, are you actually going to pass the image content, or are you just going to give me the location where the image is, the image URL, and then I can go and look up the image? Well, we're going to send through the actual image content. So there we are. And what is our image content? Well, we are going to ask for our image content from PowerApps. So we're going to say ask in PowerApps. A quick tip, when you do the ask in PowerApps, it creates a parameter, and the parameter will get the name of the step and an underscore, and then the name of the field, in this case image content. So if you want your parameters to have sensible names, then you might want to change the name of the step. So we can do that here, change the name of the action, sorry. So we could just call this OCR image, and now I'm going to come into here and say ask for it in PowerApps. There we are. So we've got a parameter called OCR image underscore image. Great stuff. And then what we're going to want to do is we are going to want to send the information back down to PowerApps, but there's just one more thing we need to do, which is to change the format of this image. Let me just show you something very quickly here. So I'm back in my PowerApps again, and remember that when we take the picture, we store it in a variable we're calling conphoto. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to insert a label, so a label control that deals with text, and I'm going to set that to, did I call it conphoto? I did, yeah. So set the text to conphoto, there we go, just took it a moment. And what we've got in there is a whole load of text. I'm just going to see if I can change the overflow method from hidden to scroll, because I want to show you the very first part of the text that's in there. But my machine seems to be on a go slow. Okay, we'll pause while we wait for that. Oh no, there we go. Good, so we're going to change it from hidden to scroll. And I think maybe what's upsetting it is that we've got auto height turned on as well, and there's an awful lot of text in there. So, right, let's now see if we can zoom in a little bit on that. And scroll across a little bit. Okay, so the format is base 64 image, something that's sometimes called a URI format. And that's not the format that the OCR service in computer vision likes to work with. So we're going to quickly change the format in our flow step. And this is dead easy, but you do have to remember to do it. So the expression that we're going to need, there we are, is data URI to binary. So we want to turn this into binary. And the thing that we want to turn into binary is our parameter that we're going to send through our image. So I'm going to hit OK on there and clear out the old one. Boom, there we are. So now that's going to translate that image into the binary format that the OCR function likes to work with. So the image is going to get sent off in the correct format, and then we're going to want to bring that image back into PowerApps. So we're going to need an extra step in there to do it. But first of all, what we're going to have to do is just run it this far. So I'm going to save it, and then we're going to run it from PowerApps because we have to check what this step is returning so that we can tell PowerApps what to expect. So hopefully that will become a bit clearer as I go through the next few steps. So I'm going to come back into my app. I'm going to delete out this text box now. And on my camera, I'm going to say I want to do a flow action. And I think they usually come down at the bottom. There it is. Yeah, PA OCR bus card. So I'm going to just hit the button there, this is going to add this as a data source, so it's going to make it so that I can call it. You've got to add them before you can call them, but now that it's added, I can call that by using the name of the flow.run and then in brackets my parameter, which in this case is just conphoto. Fantastic, there we are. So I've got a photo ready to go. So I'm going to click the camera button. So that's going to trigger the flow to run, so you can see the little activity lights going on there. And I'm going to go over to flow, and I'm going to go into the flow history. Here we are, which tells me that I have run this flow once. So when I clicked on the little camera, the flow was triggered and it ran. So I'm going to look in the history and see what actually happened, and most importantly, see what information was returned. So I'm going to go into my OCR step, and I can see that I've got some output. And my output is telling me, first of all, what's the language, what's the angle of the text. Looks like I managed to hold it pretty steady. What's the orientation? And then what it does is it gives me some regions within the image that contain text. So there's sort of a hierarchy here. So you have a region that has text. Within the region you have a line of text. Within the line of text you have the individual words. And for each of these things you're getting coordinates. You're getting a bounding box that tells you where it is in the image. So I can start to see here my image. The first words were the name of my old company, Paul David Technologies, and then there was another line and it had my name. So there you see Paul David Technologies, and then down to another line, my name. So that's just describing a little bit about the format of that information that's coming out. Now what I need to do is I need to highlight that information. So I'm just highlighting a little bit and then using Control A and then Control C to copy it all. I'm going to go into Edit. I'm going to create a new step, and this is the step where I say I want to send this information back to PowerApps. Now there is a PowerApps return step, so respond to PowerApps, but your options are limited. What I want to send back is this complex, it's called JSON, JSON JavaScript object notation, sorry. And it's describing sort of a hierarchy of data. And there isn't an option to return JSON to my PowerApp when I use the respond to PowerApps step. It's only got more basic, simple sort of data types. So I'm not going to use that one. I'm going to use a more generic step, which is more powerful. It's called the response step or response action. So here we are, response request. So I'm going to choose that. And I'm going to say what I want to send back is the JSON response. I've got some different options that you can see here. I'll go for JSON response for the moment. And we have to tell it what the information is going to look like. So there are some rules. Remember, we were saying you've got regions, and then you've got lines, and then you've got words. So for this step, we have to tell it what sort of information to expect. So it needs a schema, it needs a description of how that data is structured, but it's very easy to create that schema because we can use a sample payload to generate the schema. So I'm going to click that button and then I'm just going to paste. So remember, I copied the information that came through, so that's why it's important that you do actually have an image and an image with text in it when you perform that step, so that the expected results can be generated. So here we are. So I'm just going to put in my sample payload, hit the done button, and now that has generated the schema for me. So it's telling me that my schema has a hierarchy, and again we can see that it's got the regions, and within the regions the lines, and within the lines it can expect certain properties, and that those would be of certain data types. So don't stress too much about that because it's just copy paste, but that's what's going on in the background. So that's great. I'm now going to save that. So my flow, only 3 steps. It's triggered by PowerApps. It takes the image from PowerApps and sends it off to cognitive services for analysis. And then that analysis, which comes back in the form of a block of JSON text, structured text, gets put into a response and sent back to my PowerApp. So back into PowerApps again. So I need to do something here now, which is remove and re-add this flow step. So when I put this flow step in, all it did at that time, the time when I added the flow, the PR_OCR business card flow, all it did was accept the information. It didn't send any information back to PowerApps. And unfortunately, although that will now appear under data sources, loading, there's no option to say refresh. There's only an option to remove. So at the moment, when PowerApps is running this, it's not expecting to get anything back because it's not aware of the change that we made. So what we're going to have to do is actually remove it and re-add it. So I'm going to just copy that for a moment, go to my data sources and say remove. There we are, which gives me a little error on my camera icon because this is no longer recognized. But I'm then going to go into my flows list and I'm going to re-add it to my flows list. Okay, there we are. So it's added it. So it takes a few seconds to add because it's pulling in the parameters, the input and the output parameters. So now I'm just going to paste that little command back in there again, and we're all good, no errors. Okay. So now what we want to do is we want to collect the information which comes back when we run this flow. And this is very easy to do. I'm going to say clear collect, open bracket, the name of my collection. So if you're very new to PowerApps, a collection is a type of variable, but it's one that can contain tabular information and JSON style information as well. So let's call this OCR text. So it's the text that I've got back, and we're going to set it to the results of our function which is called in the business card flow. So let's give that a little try. Hit the play button, hit the camera. We're going to get some activity, so that's the image being sent to Flow, Flow passing the image on to the Azure Cognitive Services OCR service, getting back the response into Flow, and then Flow forwarding that response onto PowerApps. So now I'm going to have a look under my View menu and my collections, and I can see my col OCR text, and in here I can see the information that was returned. So I got one line of information which had that language, orientation, text angle stuff in it, but it's also got the regions. So if I now click into here, this is a subtable if you like, and in here it says, well, look, you've got one region in your business card, and these are the dimensions of the region, but that region contains some lines. So I click into lines, and I can see I've got multiple lines, and what I've got is in each of these lines, so each of these is a line of text, and then if I click on words, I can see the individual words plus again their location within the text. So it's this bounding box information which we're going to use in a little while to put the highlights around the individual words in the photo. So fantastic, we have got our information back from Flow and the OCR service. But what we need to do now is we need to try to highlight the word, put the information on here. It's not in a very easy to work with format at the moment with these tables inside tables. So what I want to do is I want to turn it into a nice simple list where I've just got a list of my words and the location for them. So none of this other stuff, none of this need to go delving down various different layers. So let me show you how we're going to do that. Now I'm going to refer back and forth to a little bit of pre-work in Notepad because this is a slightly complicated bit. So forgive me for that. But I don't want to waste too much of your time by trying to figure it out from first principles. So here we go. Remember that what we are trying to do is to look through all the regions. So we're going to go through each region. For each region, pick up every line, and for every line, pick up every word. And we're going to build that into a table. The table or collection, we'll call it col words. I think, yep, let's call it col words. And we're going to start by clearing that table out. So clear col words. So up here I'm doing a clear collect because every time I hit this button, I want to clear out what's in my col OCR text collection, clear it out and replace it with what came back again. With the col words, we're going to do some looping, we're going to do some iteration. So what I want to do first of all is just clear it out and make sure it's empty, and then start putting some things in. Now it's going to give me the little red underline because I haven't actually defined what col words is yet, but that will disappear once I type in the next lines. So what I want to do, let's refer quickly back to our collection, our OCR text. Okay, our OCR text collection, the top level of it is only ever going to have one row in it. I don't have to worry about there being multiple rows, I don't think, because everything is going to be in the same language and orientation and so on. So I'm only going to worry about the first row that has come back there. So to get the first row, I can say first col OCR text. Okay, so I'm worried about the first row, and I'm only worried about one column in that row as well. I'm only worried about the regions column. So I'm going to say dot regions. There we are. Always try and use the IntelliType to help so that you don't get typos. Now what I want to do is I want to iterate through all of these regions. Okay, so I'm going to wrap this up in a for all. Okay, so that is going to go through each of the regions. Now for each region I want to iterate through all of the lines. So this is where I have to remind myself. Yes. So we can now say for all. So this is after the comma. So we're working through this loop and for all of the regions, so each time we go through a region, we can now pick up the lines in that region. So I want to go through all the lines and pick up the words. Let me check it. Yes, sorry, yeah, so for all of the lines, now we can collect each of the words which are in the lines. So this is where we can do our collect col words, and we want, I think we want all of it because we want the bounding box. Yeah, so collect col words, try words, and we've got to close off each of our brackets. There we go. So this is where it is all complicated, but it's resolved with a single line if we can get it right. So to reiterate then, our first line is going off and sending the business card image and then getting back the text, which comes in a hierarchical format where we've got regions, lines, and then words. So what we do next is we make sure our words table has been cleared out and is empty and ready to add things. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take the first line of what was returned, our OCR text. That OCR text contains a regions table. We're going to go through each of the regions in the table, and then for each of the lines in each of the regions tables, we are going to collect all of the words. So let's look at that again here. Oopsie daisy, sorry, because we haven't filled it in yet. So we take our first returned line, which has got our regions table. For each of the regions, this one only has one region, but there might be multiple regions on a business card, depending on how far separated the text is. For each of the regions, we're going to go into the lines table. The lines table contains a table called words, and it's this words table. We're collecting all of these words tables together. So let's hit the button again and see what we get. There we are, nice and quick. So let's go back into our collections view. So as we were expecting, that's our col OCR text. And now this is the col words, where we're trying to change the format of this so that we've got just the words and their bounding boxes. So let's go to col words. And hey, fantastic. So this collections view only gives you the first 5 items in the collection. But we can see there that seems to be working just fine. Fantastic. In fact, we could even pop these quickly on the screen. Sometimes that's handy for sort of debugging purposes. So I'll put on a quick data table. I will hook it up to col words, and I will select the fields text and bounding box. There we are, it's stuck it over the top of my picture, but there we can see that's all of the text which appears on the image of the business card, and the bounding box is the X, Y, height and width, I think is the right way around, of each of the words that appear on there. So now what we're going to do is we are going to try and get our red rectangles over the top of each of the words so that the user can then tap on the words to add in the word to the contact list. And then after we've done that, we'll have a little look at how we can try to make some guesses to auto-populate those boxes as well. Okay, so what I can do now is I can create a gallery. So galleries are fantastic for any time where you've got repeating controls. So we've got repeating controls, or we want repeating controls. We want to have a little red, or whatever colour you like, rectangle around each word. So that's a repeating control. So let's pop in a gallery. Now it needs to be a vertical gallery, and it needs to be a normal one, not a flexible height. I'll explain why that is in a moment. So we're going to pop in our blank gallery, and we want our gallery to be exactly over the top of our camera control again. So let's do that. So I'm just going to set its X to be camera1 dot, and we'll just copy that real quick. Camera1 dot X. Oops, daisy. Camera1 dot X. All fingers and thumbs today, and we want the Y to be camera1 dot Y, and again we need to do the width, camera1 dot width, and the height, camera1 dot height. Okay, so now that gallery is exactly over the top. We're going to set the items property for the gallery to be col words. There we go. So that's great. And now what I'm going to do is I am going to put in a rectangle into my gallery. There it is, hiding down at the bottom. And I want to just quickly give it an obvious border. So we'll make it a dash border. We want to make the fill transparent. There we are. And we can choose a colour for the border. Anything you like. I'm going to stick with red. Okay, so now we've got a rectangle on there. Oh, and spot the deliberate mistake. My rectangle is not actually inside the gallery, so let's try and do that again. I'm going to copy it, go to the gallery, click for the add control, and paste it. And there we are. Now it's inside the gallery. Do you see there how it's indented underneath gallery, so you know that it's a child of the gallery. So let's get rid of that original one that I put in the wrong place. There we are. So now I've got a series of rectangles appearing. I'm getting one rectangle for each line in my gallery. Each line in my gallery is one of these lines of text. So now I'm going to set the bounding box information. So I can use this bounding box information to set the X, the Y, the height, and the width. So let's have a little crack at doing that. I think that's the right way round. I'll check in a moment that that is indeed the sequence. So I've got to select my rectangle, and I can say the X for this rectangle should be this item, because remember my gallery is based on this data set. So this item, and the information I want is in bounding box, but I just want that first little bit of the bounding box. I want the X to be 127. So that's a little bit awkward because this hasn't been separated out. So this is something which is a little bit annoying about some of the cognitive services return data sets, is that sometimes they group the information into a single field. It would have been much nicer if it was the text and then the X and the Y and the height and the width. It would make it easier to work with, and it would also make it much easier to know which number represented which thing, because you'll actually find if you use different variations of the Cognitive Services Vision APIs, they sometimes return the data in different orders and different kind of layouts. So it would be very nice if they just put each one into its own field, but they haven't. So what I need to do is I need to get just the 127 there. So how are we going to do that? Well, here's a little trick for you if you've got comma separated values. What I'm going to do is I am going to split this item dot bounding box according to the commas. Okay. Now, actually, let's show you quickly. I'll put a quick button on and I'll show you what is happening with this in the background, because it makes it easier to visualize. So let's just hit the button for a second. Oh, didn't really want to put the button inside the gallery, so let's hit the button here for a moment. There we go. And what I'm going to do is, tell you what, change my mind. I am going to put it in the gallery after all, because we want to refer to this item. So let's pop it in there. So I'm going to say when you select this, what I want you to do is to split this item dot bounding box on the comma separator. There we are. And what I'll do is I'll just put it into a collection so that we can see it. So I'm going to say clear collect. I'll just call this col test because we're going to take it out again in a moment. This is just to demonstrate what this split command is doing and what the following commands are going to do as well. Of course, that shouldn't be a bracket, that should be a comma. So put into col test the split of the bounding box, splitting it on the comma. So let's just hit the button, and then we should be able to go and see in our collections, col test. And there, that's what it's done. So it's split them into a tabular format. And what we want for the X is the first result. So what we can do is, coming back to here, we can say, I want the first returned item from this split. We have to put a little dot result on the end because there could be multiple columns. So you've got to specify which one you want. Okay, so there we are. So now we've got our X coordinates sorted. So don't worry about the other ones down here for a moment. Let's just work on this top one and try and get this top one appearing over the word Paul for now. So that gives us the first one. So now we want to get the Y coordinate. So the Y coordinate is the second of these items in the bounding box comma separated list. So pop that in there. So it's the second one we want, but there is no second command. Well, there is a second command, but it's to do with seconds and minutes, not to do with getting the second item from a list like that. So what we're going to do to get the one that we want, which is the second one, is we're going to combine a couple of things together. I'm going to say I want the first n results and say I want the first two results. Okay, so that's going to give me 127 and 79. in the tabular format, so I'll get 2 rows back. So first n just gives you back the n number of rows, and I want the last of those. There we are, and that's going to give me my y coordinate. So hopefully you saw that move somewhere around the top of the pool. Okay, so now what we want is our width and our height. Yeah, x, y, width, height. So let's do the same thing again. So I'm just going to copy that. I'm going to go to width, property for the rectangle, and I want this to be the 3rd item. And now I'm going to go to the height property of the rectangle, and I want this to be the 4th item. Boom. Okay, so not bad, but we're slightly off where we want to be on the image. We've still got a little bit of work that we need to do. Not a problem. Then let's just show you one thing as well. You can see here, this is the box for Paul, this is the box for David, this is the box for technologies. And obviously these ones are much, much further down because these y coordinates are relative to the top of the template, the line in which that box exists. But watch this for something funky. We can do this. Wow! Round of applause, please. So we have made all of these templates in the gallery only 1 pixel high. Unfortunately, the minimum size is 1. That's going to be a little bit of an issue later that we're going to have to work around. It'd be lovely if we could have that 0. I'll come back to that. But you can see here now we're getting things roughly over where the words are, and we'll get it much more precise in a moment. Don't worry. But that's the magic little trick. That's why we can't use a flexible height gallery, because the flexible height gallery, the template size, the template will automatically become big enough to incorporate each of the boxes, and we'd end up with everything being split out again. So that's why we've got to use a normal gallery, not a flexible height gallery. And then if we set our template size to 1, an interesting thing with the galleries is that they can have controls which are outside of the particular template. So the actual lines for these are all up the top of the screen here, but the boxes are appearing beneath them. So the Y value of your box can be below the bottom of the template and it will still render. Cool, right, so now we just want to try to get these a little bit more precise. We want to get these directly over each of the words. So the reason that they're a little bit off is because the image dimensions, or the dimensions of the image that we sent to Cognitive Services, may not be an exact match. In fact, they're very unlikely to be an exact match for the size of the image as we're rendering it on the screen. Remember, we can choose any size we like for our actual image control and our camera control. So a couple of things that we need to do then. So we need to make sure that we select our image control, because we've got a few controls here, one on top of the other. So make sure that you've got the image control. You'll see that we're getting a bit of a border around the edge of the image. So we want to change the image position property to fill, so that it takes up the full dimensions. So that's step 1. We're still slightly off. So here's step 2. What we need to do is we need to check that difference between the images taken and the images displayed. Now, on the image control property, or the image control, there is a property called Calculate Original Dimensions. Now, the default for this is set for false, which is a pain and something that often catches me out. So remember to set this to true. Once you set this to true, what you can do is you can start doing a comparison between the original dimensions of the image and the dimension of the image as you are displaying it. So I'm going to set that to true, and what you'll find is that will populate a couple of properties which are called the original height and the original width. So we're going to have to do a little bit more maths again in a second. I want to select my rectangle, and what's going to be the easiest way to do this? Yes, I'll do it in here. I'm going to apply a scaling factor to this. So it's going to be image1 dot original. So this is the height. Yep. So we're going to go for original height. Image1 dot original height divided by image1 dot height. Now, have I got these the right way around? Let's just see. So that's my scaling factor applied to my height. I'll have to apply the scaling factor to the y as well. So there's the height. Let's go for the y of the rectangle. There we go. And we'll need to do the x. So when we're coming to the x coordinates, we're going to want to do it by the width rather than the height. There we go. Oh, or should I be the other way around? Bear with me 1 second. Let's go back to the y. I'm always getting this back to front. Let's do the height by the original height. Yeah, that's better. Apologies. Yeah, so it's the height by the original height, the width by the original width. So the width, the original width. There we go. Height by original height. Width by original width. Cool. Okay, so now top line at least is looking a lot better. Right, okay. So why are these ones still appearing so much lower than they should do? Because we've got template padding turned on. So even though we've set the template size to 1 pixel and each line in the gallery, each template in the gallery is only 1 pixel tall, there's then a 5 pixel gap between that and the next one. So let's turn the padding down to 0, and we're going to find that we've got things a little bit closer to where they should be. Okay. Now I'm still a little bit off here, so I'm just going to have a quick double check of all those formulas I put in case I got any of them the wrong way around. Yeah, so this one should be width by original width. There we go. Right, that's good. So we're a fair bit closer now to where we want to be. Excellent. Okay. Now we're still a little bit off, so we'll see if we can fix some of that as well. So our next problem is the fact that you particularly notice it on these ones that are lower down. Everything is just a little bit lower than it should be. So as we work our way down, we're getting more and more offset. And the reason is that each template line is 1 pixel tall. So by the time you get down to, for example, the word phone, you're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 lines down, so you're 8 pixels off where you should be. So ideally what we want to be able to do is say, okay, if we're the second line down, then we need to delete a pixel. If we're a third line down, we need to sort of discount 2 pixels and so on. So we need to be able to adjust these slightly depending on how far down they are. Now unfortunately there's no built-in way of knowing what row number a particular piece of data is on. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a little trick. So let's show you how we're going to do that. So we're going to do that on this button here again that collects all of our information. And what we're going to do is the following. We are going to create yet another collection. So we're going to say clear. I'm going to have a collection called col words with nums, which is going to be, is this the first, second, third, fourth word, whatever. And I'm going to populate that by iterating through everything in col words and returning for each one the text. So I'll keep the names of the fields the same. Sorry, that should be in quotes. So I'm in my col words with nums, I'm creating a field called text. Sorry, don't need quotes after all, and I'm populating it with text. Let me just double check. Yeah, that's right, text with text. I'm going to have a field called bounding box, which I'm going to populate with the bounding box information, which comes from each line of col words. And then what I want is the row number. And the way I'm going to get that is by doing a count rows on my col words with nums. Okay, so the reason that I'm doing that is because within a for all loop, you can't actually set any variables. So in other languages, the thing to do would just be to say, oh, okay, I've got a variable called x, and on my first way around the loop, it's going to set it to 1, and then the next time it's x plus 1, x plus 2, x plus, you know, so it goes up and up and up. So each time it goes around, it increments by 1. And we can't do that within PowerApps, but what we can do is we can say, right, I put my first line in, and I'm going to count how many lines are already in the collection. So 0. The next time around, I've got my next item in. How many items are already in the collection? 1, and so on. So let me just finish off my curly brace, and we'll need another close bracket on there, and another close bracket. Yeah, that should be a collect. Just make sure I've got that right. And we're going to want to have a clear on the whole word with nums first. Okay, so whenever we're building up the collections a little bit at a time, then we need to clear them out first of all. There we go, got all my brackets and things in the right places now. So let's hit the button again. Oh, going a little bit slow this time. There we go. So now what we should have inside our collections is we've got our col words as before, and we should have our col words with nums where we've got a row number on them. Now my row number's all 0, so what have I done wrong? Let's have a little look. Okay, so I've got myself back to front here, sorry. There we are. So for all col words, what I want to do is collect my words with nums. So I had my collection in the wrong place. So let's just try that one more time. Cool. Let's check my collection. Now my row numbers are appearing properly, so that's fantastic. So we can also show that on here if we want. So remember, we'll clear this out later, but this is just to show us what's going on. So I'll select that additional field. So I've changed the source to the col words with num, added in the row number. So there we can see the row number. So now on here in our gallery, instead of using col words, we're going to use col words with nums. And in our rectangle, which you have to select from the navigator because it becomes difficult to select them on here, what we need to do for our Y property is we need to deduct this item dot row num, and hopefully we will see that the boxes towards the bottom of the screen, once this is done, yes, are much more accurately lined up. So, starting to look good. And another thing that we can do, we can see sometimes here the width sometimes falls a little bit short. We could apply a little bit of padding to that. So what we could do is we could say for our rectangle, I'll take its X position and I'll subtract, let's say 3 pixels, and I can take its width and I could add about another 3 pixels. That's not quite enough, is it? Let's try 15. Yes, because of course I'm moving it across the other way. So yeah, I'm going to add 15 on there. In fact, let's just make it 20. There we are, add 20 pixels on there. And for the X, let's deduct a few pixels. -10, there we go. Okay, so now I need to add a few more onto the width again. So it's just playing around with it a little bit. There we go. So now we've got something which is pretty good, I would say. Cool. Now then, let's quickly, because this is going on a long time, see about filling in these boxes that we're going to put down the side. So what we'll do, let's just quickly insert a text box. It's going to be a text input box, and we'll pop it over here, and we'll add one label for it. So the label is going to be, so let's just use this to pick up the name. So this is going to be a text input box so that we can tap and fill the name in. We'll need a little icon on there as well. Let's grab the edit icon. So we'll start these by just having it so that you can tap on the card to fill them in, and then we'll see about adding the automatic guess as to which is which. So there we go. Now in the on select of this, I'm going to update a context variable, which I'm going to call con edit name, and I'll set that to true. What we'll also do is have a variable con name, which we'll set to empty for the moment. We're going to set the default of this to con name, and then we're going to go to the on select of a rectangle, and I'm going to say if con name edit, so if we're editing the name, then we are going to update the context of con name to whatever is already in con name, plus we'll need a space, and this item dot text is the name of the field that has the text in it. Boom, there we are. Good, good. So it just doesn't like con name edit. Let's just check what I called it in here. I called it con edit name. So con name edit, just make sure my things all match up. What does it not like there? I don't have enough brackets. Cool. So here we go then. So I say that I want to edit name, and now when I click on words, whatever I want to click on gets added to the name in there. So that's just how we did the ability to tap to add the name. Just going to save this quickly. There we go. So now you could see that I could add a few more of those in. In fact, let's very quickly do those now. Let's just show you a little trick that I like when I have to put in multiple controls, because you'll see if I copy that and paste it, PowerApps, copy it, paste it. Okay, it's come all the way over here, and what I'd really like is for it automatically to be lined up. So a quick way of doing that, let's make the label the main control. I'm going to set the X value of the label to 819, whatever it is at the moment, but plus 0. That makes it a formula. So now, anytime I copy and paste the label, it's still in exactly the same X position. And what we can do is we can also set these other controls relative to that. So I could say the X of this is my, what's that one called? Sorry, label 2. So the X of this one is label 2.x. And I could say the Y of this one is label 2.y plus label to dot height. There we are, should now be in the right place. And what's this? Text input 1. So this icon, the Y would be text input 1 dot Y, and its X could be text input 1 dot X plus text input 1 dot width. There we go. So now when I copy the control and paste it, okay, they've all popped in about the right place. I just need to make sure that I just select the label, and now I should be able to just move that label around, and then everything will move relative to it. Okay, so that was the name. So for this one, we could say what we want is the company. I'm only going to do the two to save a little bit of time, I think. And then on here, we're going to change its on select to say that what we are editing is the company. Make this one con company instead. Make the default of this con company. And when I go to my rectangle, we said, right, if we're editing con name edit, then do this. So we could have a very similar line where if we are editing the company, then company, oh, of course I've edited that wrong, so it's company edit. Right, there we are. So that one should be the name, and now I want to change the company. Oopsie. Back to my rectangle. I missed something. Yeah, con name should be, sorry, con company should be whatever is already in con company plus what you've clicked on. So there we go. Let's try that again. Name and company. Fantastic. Almost. Why did that pop in there? Ah, yeah, because we need to make sure that we've set the other ones to false. So company edit is true and con name edit is false. Spending a bit more time on this, we could probably come up with something a little bit neater. But I think that is now, yeah, what we need. So obviously you can repeat that for the other controls that are in there. In terms of filling in the information automatically, let's just do that quickly with the email address. So I'll show you how I manage that. So again, I'm going to copy one of these, make sure that I've just got the label part of it selected so that everything stays relative. Oh, my machine's jumping things around a little bit, so why don't we set the Y of that manually? Okay, that'll do for now. And so this one is going to be our email. Okay, and so we'd have to go through all this bit of change here, but for working out the default email address, what I'm going to do with that, so remember that we've now got a nice collection which has got all of our words in as individual cells. What we could do is simply do a formula which is going to look for things that look like an email address by using the isMatch command. So I'm going to set my default for this to lookup col, see, words with nums. And I want to find it where the text is a match for, let me just check my syntax. Yeah, so my condition is isMatch. Does the text of that word match? And we've got some already set up matches, in this case email, and I need to say what I want to return from it, which is the text. There we go. So that's managed to pick up the email address out of the business card. You can do similar with the website. Now there's no nice match website like there is match email. What you have to do for this argument is fill in a regular expression, but if you go and have a little look on the internet for regular expressions that match website formats, then you'll find them. I'll jump to the one I was showing you right at the beginning so that you can see I've done the same sort of thing here where I've done a lookup and an isMatch, and then this string of text is something that will identify text which does match the format of a website. So that's how I did that one. When we're guessing for the name and the title and the company, well, that one is a little bit of a cheat. All I'm doing on that one is I'm assuming that the company is going to be on the first line. And I'm assuming that the name is going to be on the second line. So we're using our last, first, n type structure there again, just to pick out, and we're doing it on the lines this time rather than the individual words. So from our collection that comes back, we're having a look in our first region, we're having a look at our second line, and we're just pulling the text from it. So that one is a little bit of a cheat. So often that will get them the wrong way round, because business cards don't always start with the company and then the name and then the title. But as I say, the idea is that it makes a guess, and if it's wrong, you can just click to go in and easily edit it by tapping on the red boxes that contain the words that you want to see. To get the phone number was a little bit of a challenge, because in most cases the phone number is formatted so that it's not one single block of numbers. You've got, sort of an area code or whatever followed by the rest of the numbers, or sometimes people just break up the phone number with spaces to make it a little bit easier to read. So my way of getting around that little problem was, so this is on the button that brings the information in. I have another collection called nums. Again, I'm doing this business of iterating through the regions, iterating through the lines, and then what I did was I picked out only the words, only the blocks of text which were numeric. So that gives me a list of things which are only numeric, and then I simply concatenate them together again. So that was my little cheat for getting the phone number. If there are multiple phone numbers on the business card, then that won't work terribly well. But if there's one phone number on there, then it's fine. Okay, so let's jump back to the one that we were building. There's just one more little bit that we need to do on here. And that is to bear in mind that we've now got 3 controls that are all directly on top of each other. We've got a camera control, we've got an image control, and we've got the gallery control. So what I'll find now, if I play this, if I hit the button to clear the image, I can see my camera. So there's the camera again. I can see the camera control, but the gallery control is still over the top of the image, and that doesn't look very nice, number one, because we've got all these red boxes. We obviously could clear the collections out, which would empty those red boxes. But the other problem that we've got is I can't now click on the camera control to take the image, because when I click, I'm actually clicking on the gallery because the gallery is on top. So remember that you have this Z ordering, so my gallery is on top of my image, which is on top of my camera, if you can just see the edge of it on the bottom there. So we just need to make sure that when we clear out the image, that we also hide the gallery as well, and when we've got an image to work with, we show the gallery. I think we could actually get away with doing that simply by having the galleries visible property set to the same as the image control. So if the image control is visible, then the gallery should be visible. So there, the gallery has disappeared. So if I now take a picture and let it focus. Okay, now it's showing me the old results. When I click on the camera icon, the old results will be cleared off and new results put in their place. There we are, very nice. So the other thing that we would want to do is just make sure that when we're getting rid of an image, we also get rid of all of the other collections that were associated with that image. So I'm just going to do a clear, and our collections were, what was it, col words, and we can clear col words with nums. There we go. So now when we hit the trash can, we're getting rid of the image and we're clearing out the items from the gallery, so that if we take a new photo, let me do the photo again. So once I've clicked that button, the gallery is being displayed again, but initially you're not seeing anything because all of the information behind the gallery has been cleared out until the new information comes back in again. And then the other thing that we would need to do, I won't do it now because of time constraints, but the other thing of course we'd want to do is to clear out all of these context variables for con name and so on. So when you hit that, you would also clear out all of those context variables as well, so that these boxes all become empty as well. Okay, so thanks very much for watching all the way through that. If you watched all the way through, well done. Takes a little bit of time, but there's a lot of different things that we're covering in there. I think there's some particularly useful stuff in there, not just for playing around with images, but things like, as I say, being able to pull out the first, second, third, fourth items from a list, being able to add row numbers to a collection as well is kind of handy. And that isMatch command, if you haven't played with that before, is one that is well worth looking at. So there we are. So that's my little business card demo solution. Hope you enjoyed it. Please leave your notes in the comments, any questions, anything you would like me to cover in future, and I'll do my best to get to it. Fantastic. Thank you very much, and goodbye for now.